up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be making some healthy takeout recipes that you can make from home and save yourself some money. So me and Colin have gotten into this really bad habit of ordering Uber Eats like once or twice a week. Things are so expensive lately. We really need to save our money and make food at home. So I'm gonna share some healthy takeout recipes that are better for you than ordering out and taste just as good. I also feel like every time I order out, I'm like, oh, I could have just made this better if I made it myself. Because like when you make it your own, you can make it to your own taste preferences. Wow, this is not very flattering. I just got this new apron. Then you pay so much money for it and it's like slightly disappointing, you know, it might as well just cook at home. So let's make some of my favorite recipes that I like to order.
So some of our favorite food to order is from Thai restaurants. There are so many bomb Thai food restaurants out here in LA. So today, instead of ordering food, I'm gonna be making my own drunken noodle inspired stir fry. And I saw this hack that you can turn rice paper into those big wide fat noodles. So I'm gonna try that out today and we'll see if it works. I'm using a traditional pad ki mao drunken noodle recipe as my inspiration, but I'm gonna make it healthier by reducing the sodium and using less oil. Not only is it cheaper to cook at home, but you can also obviously make it a lot healthier, use less salt, less oil, cook with fresh organic ingredients. The only downside is then we have to do a mountain of dishes by hand. So that's what tempts us to order out. Back to the recipe, I'm gonna be using half of an onion sliced up, 3 cloves of garlic, fresh basil.
I do have real Thai chilies that I'm gonna use in this recipe. I keep these in my freezer for whenever I make like a Thai recipe. You can pretty much add like whatever veggies or protein you want in this recipe. It's pretty versatile.
For the rest of my veggies, I'm using some red bell pepper cut into strips, 1 carrot julienned into little slices, and some broccoli. And for my protein, I'm gonna use some tofu. You can really use like any protein source you want. My favorite way to prep tofu is cut it up in cubes, coat it in some cornstarch, and then bake it in the oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. It'll get nice and crispy, toasty on the outside, so it's not just like mushy tofu in your stir fry.
This is my favorite kind of pot to cook in because the sides are so high, the food doesn't spill over and you can really like stir it up. Now that the tofu is done, I'm gonna coat this in some coconut aminos to pre-season it. And then I'm just gonna add this in like towards the end.
So you want to make sure you have everything prepped before you start this recipe because it comes together really quick. So for my sauce, I'm using a combination of low sodium soy sauce and coconut aminos. That's going to reduce the sodium a little bit. Half a tablespoon of coconut sugar. And to substitute fish sauce, I use this mushroom seasoning to give it that umami flavor. So I heated up my pan, and the first thing I'm gonna do is cook the onion, bell pepper, and carrots in a little bit of olive oil, but you could just water saute if you wanna make this recipe completely oil-free. I added in some garlic, and I cooked that just for a minute. Then I added in the broccoli, let it cook for another minute or two.
So this is how you make the rice paper noodles. So you wanna run it under some water to get it wet, and stack 2 or 3 together of them to make them a little bit thicker. You can also just use like normal rice noodles for this recipe, but I wanted to try and make the really thick ones. Then I used scissors and just cut them into big strips. You have to work really fast because these cook, or not cook, but they get mushy really fast. Kind of mush it together to make it a little thicker. And just cut it up into whatever size you want. Add in the tofu, mix the tofu up with the sauce a little bit, and then mix the noodles right in the sauce. These get kind of stuck together, so you'll probably want to use a little bit of oil. Mix those in, and then just mix everything together. And here's our homemade drunken noodle. Look at these big, juicy noodles. This is everything I've ever wanted. I forgot the Thai basil. I mean, regular basil. Just toss that really quick. I love these big wide noodles. That red chili pepper is like taking me out right now. I never am ordering out again. I'm just gonna make this recipe. It came out so good. So the last, really spicy by the way, I should not have used 3 of those chilies. The actual cooking process is so fast, so make sure you have everything ready, like your noodles cut and oh my God, and the sauce ready. Those Thai chilies are just destroying my airway. It still came out so delicious. It's really hot though.
So next I'm going to be making another noodle dish. I seriously love noodles. I feel like I do not eat them enough on this channel. Today I'm making a Korean noodle dish called Japchae, which is like stir-fried veggies with sweet potato starch noodles. This is actually a pretty healthy dish on its own. It has a lot of veggies mixed together. For my protein source, I'm going to use tofu, but the original recipe calls for like beef strips.
I'm gonna follow Mang Chi's recipe. I love her recipes. She makes like authentic Korean food. I'm going to make mine lower sodium, so we're gonna do less soy sauce. I'll list the real recipe in the description. So the first thing I'm doing is just blanching this bok choy. The original recipe calls for spinach, but I just don't like spinach really. So I'm using bok choy. Squeeze the water out. Mix it with a drizzle of sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, and 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. Mix that together. Mmm, so good. That is actually delicious for being so simple. This original recipe calls for beef, but instead of that, I'm gonna use this frozen tofu cut into really thin strips. And when you freeze it and then defrost it, it becomes all spongy. But feel free to use any protein option you want in this recipe. You could just leave it out.
Next, I'm seasoning the tofu with some garlic, a generous amount of coconut aminos, and some mushroom seasoning. Mix all that together and set it aside.
Okay, in the same water, we're gonna cook our noodles. For authentic Japchae, you need sweet potato glass noodles. This says cook in boiling water for 6 minutes. I don't know if this is gonna be enough. Then when you take the noodles out, we're gonna season it with a little bit of coconut aminos, like 1 or 2 teaspoons. The original recipe calls for real soy sauce, but I'm gonna kind of use a mix of both so it's lower in sodium. Coconut aminos has a lot less sodium, but it has a sweeter flavor. And a little pinch of sesame oil. Mix the noodles together to season them. This kind of is a lot of steps, but it's really easy. It's just like a lot of different steps. I'm actually gonna have a lot of dishes to wash because everything has its own bowl.
All there's left to do is cook all of our ingredients and then combine it all together in a big bowl. So first I'm cooking the tofu. I ended up cutting it into smaller strips because it was kind of big.
Then I'm gonna transfer these to the side.
And then I cook the onions, green onion, and mushrooms together. They take like just 1 to 2 minutes to cook. Really fast.
Add a little pinch of garlic salt to the mushrooms. Okay, this only took like a few minutes to cook and I think it's pretty much done.
Add that into a big bowl with the noodles. And I had to stop and wipe down my skillet because the sauce was like burning on the bottom. And lastly, I cooked the carrots and bell peppers together, just for like 2 minutes. My cast iron's really well seasoned, so I didn't even have to use any oil. Then you're gonna add everything to the noodle bowl, along with another clove of garlic and more soy sauce. I did half coconut aminos, half low sodium soy sauce.
2 teaspoons of sesame oil and some pepper. I almost forgot the bok choy. And mix it all together. This is gonna be so good. How amazing does this look?
I think it comes out so pretty with all the colors mixed together. Also, this recipe would be great for meal prep because you can either eat it hot or cold, so you can save it in your fridge for meal prep.
Remember we made this before on the mukbang channel, remember that? Cheers.
Cheers. Pretty good.
I think it came out perfect. I saw someone on Instagram make a crunch wrap, so now they've influenced me to make a crunch wrap tonight for dinner. I first have to make sure I have mold-free tortillas. Okay, they look pretty good, so we can continue. It is Friday night and Colin was so close to ordering food tonight, and I said, don't order that, I'm gonna make us crunch wraps. So now we have to continue because Colin's waiting for his crunch wrap. He was gonna order acai bowls for dinner. The man loves acai bowls.
So, not gonna lie, this recipe is kind of a lot of steps because first we have to make our own taco meat from scratch, and then I'm gonna make my own dairy-free nacho cheese, and then we have to assemble it all together. So for my taco meat, I'm using organic yellow pea crumbles that I rehydrated with veggie broth. These have amazing macros. It's like 80% protein. This is one of my favorite like ground meat alternatives. And then for seasonings, I'm using salt-free taco seasoning, chili powder, garlic powder, a pinch of cayenne, and 2 big tablespoons of tomato sauce. And this seasoning combination tasted so good, it was like spot on. Then I just simmered all those ingredients together for a couple minutes.
Oh my god. Came out so good.
Then I threw together a nacho cheese sauce. So for the base of my dairy-free nacho cheese sauce, I'm using half a cup of raw cashews, about 3 tablespoons of rolled oats, the juice of 1 lemon, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, some chili powder, and tomato sauce. Blend that up together, and then I forgot to add some turmeric and some of this adobo seasoning. It's basically just like salt, onion powder, pepper. And at the end, I mixed in 2 big tablespoons of salsa. Okay, the key for this nacho cheese sauce is you have to heat it up on the stove to like cook the oats, and it came out so bomb.
Seriously though, this might be one of my best nacho cheese sauces. Oh my god, it's actually so good. Let me just get out a couple more things here.
And now that we have everything prepped, it is finally time to assemble our crunch wraps.
Okay, so I'm using these Ezekiel tortillas. They are notorious for breaking, but if you warm them up, it makes it a little bit easier.
And you also need 1 extra tortilla to cut into a little circle for the center of the crunch wrap. It's finally time to assemble our crunch wrap. On the bottom, I'm doing a layer of black beans. Then I layered on the taco meat and nacho cheese.
I found these oven-baked tostadas, and I thought they'd be perfect in this recipe. Let me know what else I can make with these tostadas. Boop. The one thing I don't have is any tomatoes, so instead I'm gonna use some of the salsa. Let's do some onion, lettuce, little tortilla piece for the center, and then fold it up. Look how perfect. And then I'm gonna make one more. Instead of sour cream, I'm gonna use a little bit of yogurt on top. Put the little circle on and fold it up. Okay. Put this one over here. Okay, I made this dipping sauce with yogurt, hot sauce, and chunky salsa. Came out really good.
And this is how the crunch wraps turned out. You just want to grill them on each side until they turn nice and golden brown. And these were so good. I might meal prep all the ingredients so that I can make these during the week. They really hit the spot.
This actually came out incredible. The sauce really pulls it together. Hot. Literally so good. This might be one of the best things I've made.
I was craving Indian food, so next up I'm making tofu tikka masala. This is my favorite method of making this recipe when I want something quick and easy. However, I don't think it's very authentic, so I will link a more authentic tikka masala recipe in the description box that you can use as like a reference. I'm using extra firm tofu torn into little chunks to make it more like meaty like, I guess. And I feel like the seasonings like stick better that way. So I added in about a tablespoon of cornstarch and a couple teaspoons of curry seasoning, garlic salt, and lemon juice. Mix all that together to coat the tofu and bake that in the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. This has been my go-to method for prepping tofu for a recipe. This way it's not just like mushy blocks of tofu in a sauce. It actually has some like nice texture on the outside. For the rest of the sauce, I'm gonna be using 1 onion diced up. You'll need 1 tablespoon of fresh ground ginger and 3 cloves of garlic minced up. And also 1 diced jalapeno if you wanna add some spice. Then this recipe is super easy. You want to cook down the onions until they are really soft. You can either water saute or use olive oil or butter. At that point, the tofu finished baking, so I took that out of the oven. Then after the onions cook down for about 5-6 minutes, add in the ginger, garlic, jalapeno, and half a can of tomato paste. And water it down with about 1.5 cups of water until you get like the thickness that you like. For spices, I'm using a teaspoon of garam masala, chili powder, and curry powder. Salt to your taste. I usually start with like 1/4 teaspoon and increase it if I think it needs it. And I added half a tablespoon of coconut sugar. This is my trick to getting like the creamiest dairy-free tikka masala sauce. I use cashew butter instead of like fresh cashew milk or cream. You'll need about 1/4 cup of cashew butter mixed with water until it's nice and smooth like this. And then add that into your sauce. Let it simmer for another 5-ish minutes. This makes seriously the most like velvety, rich, smooth sauce. It comes out so good. Add in the tofu and let it cook for another few minutes so the tofu absorbs all the flavors. And then this is the finished product. It came out so delicious. I was craving Indian food so badly, and I served this with cauliflower rice, and it came out really good together. By the way, if you think cauliflower rice is disgusting, try squeezing out all the water before you serve it. It is so much better that way. And yeah, this is how it turned out. It came out absolutely delicious.
Okay, let's give it a taste. These are like little molten lava balls, and I just burnt the whole entirety of my mouth. Oh, and we're eating this with cauliflower rice. I'm scared now. Is it hot? So good. Right?
Really good.
And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if I should keep this a series and make another video like this. Let me know what your go-to thing to order for takeout is. And I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for joining me today.